7 Steps Towards Never Being Broke Again. Today, we will be looking at 7 steps towards never being broke again. If you're tired of being broke, we would recommend taking these steps for a wealthier lifestyle. Going broke can be a humbling experience, but it could also make you realize just how much you need a certain amount of income to keep your life going in a certain style. If you're facing financial challenges lately and are looking to not be broke anymore, then you're in the right place. Throughout this video, we will be sharing 7 dangerous habits that might lead you to your financial downfall. But before we get started, please remember to take a quick second and support our content by liking, subscribing, and turning the notification bell on. This helps us create more videos like this for your entertainment. If you're all set, then let's get started. Number 1. You should put some money aside for hard times. While it would be a dream come true for most people to have an endless flow of cash, making that happen isn't such a realistic expectation. There will be times when you are swimming in money and times when you are barely getting by. The best way to ride out the hard days is to put some money aside for rainy days. This might seem like a hard thing to do for some people, but in reality, there is no minimum or maximum amount of money that you can set aside. Your main goal here should be to build yourself a safety net for when you need extra cash. When you do this, you won't be needing to take out a loan for your unexpected expenses. Therefore, you will be saving yourself from the trouble of going into debt. There are several ways of allowing yourself to put some of your earnings aside, and one of the most common methods is starting a savings account. This method is popular because it doesn't require you to make any risky investments that can result in monetary loss. However, if you do have some money to spare for investments, you might want to invest in trusty assets like real estate. The real estate market is constantly moving upwards, so an investment like that will be sure to get you a large sum of income. Because realistically speaking, people will always need a roof over their heads. Therefore, you can't really go wrong with real estate as long as you have a good realtor by your side. In short, you just have to find the most suitable method of saving money based on your income and budget. If you would like a professional's insight, then you could try and resort to free online classes that can help you get your toes wet in the saving scene. Number 2. You should be aware of your expenses. Do you know exactly how much you spend on a monthly basis, or do you go with the flow? Because doing the latter could really put your finances in danger. If you have trouble keeping track of your expenses, then you will likely struggle to decrease the amount you spend on each expense. The irresponsible spender attitude will keep you on the lower end of the scale and make you go broke, even if you have tons of money. So how can you take back control of the money you spend? Allow us to explain. We would like to introduce you to a handy little trick called the envelope method. The envelope method is a simple way of keeping track of how much you spend on each individual expense that you have. By following this method, you will tap into a certain financial mindfulness that will benefit you going forward. All you're going to need for this method is a number of envelopes and a pen. Yes, we do realize that it looks like you're about to write someone a letter, but it's actually much bigger than that. What you will want to do with these envelopes is to categorize them by expense. Try labeling each envelope with one expense, like groceries or self-care. Next, you should set a budget for each expense and put some money in each envelope depending on your budget. It might be hard at first, but once you get the hang of this method, you will be saving more money than you realize. Number 3. You should make a budget for yourself and stay true to it. If the envelope method isn't for you, then you can try your hand at some old-fashioned budgeting to keep your finances looking up. The best way of going about this is to create some visuals that will hold you accountable for how much money you are spending. If you struggle to keep track of your budget, then you can try to transfer all your money to a debit card you don't use much. Then you can go back to it in times of need without worrying about overspending. You might be thinking that budgeting isn't your strong suit or that you can never stop yourself from spending money on it because you were simply not raised to be mindful of your purchases. But don't worry, there's a simple solution to that. You can try to keep an eye on how much you spend on a monthly basis and then get help from some budgeting journals or free courses you can find online. The internet is full of countless resources that don't require any payment, so why not make the most of it while you're already paying for your internet bill? Number 4. You should try your best to not spend too much of your money on one thing. Do you get an urge to suddenly splurge on food, clothing, or entertainment? If you do, then you are not alone, because many other people have walked several miles in your shoes. However, we probably don't have to tell you that this is an unhealthy spending habit that you are going to want to get rid of. We'll be honest with you, it might feel like you are going into addiction withdrawal at first, but once you power through the initial phase and settle into a new routine of spending money, you will be so much better off for it. Make it your goal to spend smaller amounts of money on different categories. So instead of dropping $200 on each of your expense categories, try to minimize them one by one until you have a grand total of 100. That way, your overall expenses will slowly start to decrease and you will have more money in your savings account over time. A simple method of doing this could be limiting your shopping. For example, the next time you go grocery shopping, try to buy 1 pack of sodas instead of 2 and try consuming less. By cutting back on whatever you can until you are in a better place in terms of finance, you can recover from dire situations a lot quicker. Number 5. You should avoid shopping-related places if storefronts tempt you. Is retail therapy your kind of therapy? If so, we hear you. You probably can't avoid the urge to shop once you go out into town and walk down a street. But your inability to stop yourself from spending money should not be a setback for your social life. Just because you can't go to the mall doesn't mean you shouldn't have any sort of outings in your life. Sure, you might want to find some alternative activities to keep the social butterfly in you going, but when you think about it, your options are still pretty good. You can try inviting friends over for a dinner party instead of joining them at a fancy restaurant. Since you will be playing the role of the host, your guests will likely want to bring some ingredients of their own as a token of gratitude. Events of these kinds are great for bonding while lessening food costs and other expenses. Another outdoor activity you could resort to is hiking. Instead of taking a stroll through the mall and looking at storefronts, you could try taking a stroll through nature and look at all the trees and flowers around you. If you're into photography, you could even bring your camera and take some great photos that you could maybe later sell on stock websites. There are countless options for you to enjoy throughout your time of trying to lower your living costs. All you have to do is figure out what suits your taste best and stick with it. Number 6. You should try to indulge yourself in cheap thrills. By definition, a cheap thrill is something small that brings you joy. It could be anything from picking flowers to joking around with friends. Once you start to indulge yourself in more cheap thrills throughout your daily life, you will begin to feel more fulfilled. This will lead you to feel less compelled to spend money on expensive forms of entertainment. Try putting on some funny outfits to create your own costume party, hold a karaoke contest where the winner gets to pick the movie of the night, or even go for a late-night swim in the ocean. There are so many different little things that can bring joy to a person's life, as long as you don't choose to be high maintenance, or in other words, as long as you know how to be content with the things you do have instead of focusing on the things you don't. You will always find a way to enjoy life. Who knows, maybe a stroll down the street can give you a breath of fresh air all over again. Or spending time with your family and doing over your old photo albums could be some good source of laughter. Eventually, you will find yourself enjoying your life so much that not being able to spend money won't even bother you anymore. How do you feel about incorporating cheap thrills into your daily life to keep you going? Let us know in the comments. Number 7. You should set up a reward system for yourself. Let's face the music for a second here. None of the things we mentioned above are easy to do. If anything, they are easier said than done. What we mean to say by this is that you need to cut yourself some slack every now and again. If you've spent a whole month budgeting and saving money successfully, having a $20 takeout order for dinner won't be so bad by the time you have your next paycheck. Small rewards that keep you motivated without breaking the bank can go a long way. So if you've worked hard and saved a lot of money over the past few weeks, take a deep breath and treat yourself to a coffee. However, try to be as mindful as you can when you're making these purchases, because all it takes for a financial relapse is one irresponsible purchase, and the rest is history. So once again, it all comes back to budgeting your spendings. If you have a certain budget for your little rewards, then you can have the best of both worlds by purchasing things you love while keeping the bigger portion of your money to yourself. And that marks the end of our video. If you enjoyed watching this, then please be sure to let us know by giving us a thumbs up. Want to be the first to know when we have a new video? Then turn on the bell to be notified every time we upload one. Finally, if you're looking for something to binge on, you can click on the video that's currently on your screen. We'll see you in our next video.